Welcome to today's explainer. I am absolutely thrilled to jump right into this one with you because we're about to take a massive, literal, epic journey through time. Today, we're tracing the complete lineage and the incredible stories attached to the Ikshvaku lineage, which you probably know better as the Solar Dynasty. We're going to break down this thousands of years old family tree step by step, taking it from ancient mythology straight into recorded history. Now, here is the big, compelling question we're answering today. How exactly does the pristine, famously righteous lineage of Lord Rama connect to the bloody, morally messy battlefield of the Mahabharata? It's a crazy, dramatic bridge between two of the greatest Hindu epics, and honestly, the story of how we get from point A to point B is absolutely fascinating. To make all this history easy to grasp, here's our agenda. We'll hit the origins of the Solar Dynasty, look at Rama and his brothers, cover the heirs of the Golden Age, trace that lineage to the Mahabharata, and finally wrap up with the dynasty's final legacy. All right, let's dive right into Section 1, Origins of the Solar Dynasty. Okay, so the foundation of this family isn't just human. It's literally divine. The timeline starts at the very dawn of creation with Brahma. From there, we move into the celestial age with Vavaswan, who is Surya, the sun god. Then comes Vaivaswata Manu, the progenitor of mankind. And finally, coming down to earth, we get King Ikshvaku, the first king of Ayodhya, who actually founded this royal house. It's a pretty wild reminder of how deeply tied celestial forces were with human governance back in the day. You know, being part of the SURYA, the Solar Dynasty, wasn't just some fancy royal title. It was a heavy burden. The dynasty was deeply revered for its absolute adherence to dharma, moral governance, and righteous kingship. And this is totally crucial to keep in mind because it shows us how ancient cultures viewed leadership. It wasn't about unchecked power. It was a hardcore responsibility to uphold universal order. This pristine ideal put immense pressure on literally all the descendants who followed. Moving right along to Section 2, Rama and his brothers. So leaping forward through generations of kings, we hit the most famous era of the dynasty, the core family hub of the Ramayana. Right here, we have the four brothers, Rama, Bharata, Lakshmana, and Shatrugna. Alongside them are their wives, Sita, Mandavi, Urmila, and Shrutakirti. And just beneath them, you can see their sons, neatly mapping out the next generation. This right here, this is the ultimate royal family of Ayodhya during its absolute zenith. But these brothers weren't just rulers, they were literal symbols. Every single one represents a distinct virtue that essentially held the entire kingdom together, especially during Rama's grueling 14-year exile. Rama is the ultimate embodiment of dharma, righteousness. Bharata represents profound devotion, choosing to rule in Rama's name rather than usurping power. Lakshmana stands for sacrifice, tossing aside royal comfort to protect his brother in the wild. And Shatrugna embodies protection, keeping everything in order back home in Ayodhya. Together, they form the pillars of this golden age. Let's jump to Section 3, Heirs of the Golden Age. Right after the Golden Age, the Solar Dynasty rapidly expanded its footprint all across ancient India. Just take a look at this. Rama's sons, Lava and Kusha, took over North and South Kosala. Bharata's sons pushed northwest, claiming Takshashila and Pushkalavadi. Lakshmana's sons ruled Kurukshetra and Malla, while Shatrugna's sons inherited Madhupuri, which we call Mathura today, and Vidisha. This next generation literally mapped out the civilization of that era, spreading the ideals of Ayodhya everywhere. Of course, the most famous of these heirs are Rama's twins, Lava and Kusha. And wow, their story is incredible. Raised in total secret in sage Valmiki's ashram, they mastered both the Vedas and warfare. Get this. In a stunning display of power, they actually captured Rama's Ashwamedha sacrificial horse and managed to defeat the elite armies of Ayodhya, including their own uncles, all before their true identities were finally revealed. I mean, they definitively proved they inherited their father's immense martial prowess, for sure. But hey, it wasn't just Lava and Kusha making waves here. These descendants were highly active city builders. Taksha founded Takshashila, the legendary ancient city of Taxila, which actually became one of the world's earliest centers of learning. Subahu took over Mathura after his father Shatrugna slew the demon Lavanasura, turning it into a major spiritual and political hub. And ultimately, it was Kusha who carried the torch, continuing the main royal line of the Surya Vansha into the future. Which brings us to Section 4, Lineage to the Mahabharata. Now we hit a major pivot. Tracing Kusha's bloodline down into the darker Dvapara Yuga really gives us a sense of the epic passage of time. From Kusha at Generation 1, we pass through fascinating figures like Nala in Generation 4. By Generation 20, we see King Hiranyanaba studying under sage Jaimini. And finally, around Generation 28, so roughly 900 BCE, depending on the historical correlation, we hit King Brihadbala. He is the ruler of Kosala exactly when the catastrophic events of the Mahabharata kick off. Talk about a stark contrast between eras. In Rama's Treta Yuga, we saw absolute, uncompromising adherence to Dharma above literally anything else. But Brihadbala? He lives in the Dwapara Yuga, an era driven by Daiva, or divine fate, and incredibly messy politics. We see a shift that really mirrors human history, the decline of Golden Age ideals into gritty, real-world survival tactics. See, Bhima actually defeated Brihadbala during the Pandavals' conquest. Forced to submit and pay tribute, his alliance has totally shifted. So when the Kurukshetra War broke out, this direct descendant of the righteous Rama ended up fighting on the side of Duryodhana and the Kauravas. And man, that complex alliance leads to such a tragic irony on the battlefield. Here's what goes down on the 13th day of the Kurukshetra War. Brihadbala is fighting deep inside Drona's deadly Chakravyuha formation. He aggressively attacks the isolated young Pandava prince Abhimanyu. But Abhimanyu, who is trained by Arjuna, is fiercely skilled. He strikes back, and with a single, long-shafted arrow, he cleaves Brihadbala's heart in two. The king falls, marking a massive, massive loss for the Kaurava army. All right, let's wrap things up with Section 5, the dynasty's final legacy. With Brihadbala gone, the dynasty really steps out of mythology and into recorded history. According to Puranic tradition, Brihadbala dies in the Great War around 3138 BCE. Over the next 1500 years or so, the dynasty slowly fades, with 30 successive kings reigning over a steadily shrinking domain. Finally, in the year 1634 BCE, the very last king, Sumitra, is defeated by the rising power of Mahapadmananda. Sumitra wasn't killed, he actually fled to modern-day Bihar, but his defeat meant the absolute, permanent loss of the throne. The gravity of this moment was formally documented in the ancient texts. The Vishnu Purana famously declares, Ikshvaku namaya vamsaha Sumitrantoga mishyati. The Ikshvaku dynasty ends with Sumitra. After thousands of years, all the way from the dawn of creation through divine avatars and epic world wars, the sovereignty of the solar dynasty was formally eclipsed. But here is what's really fascinating. Hindu cosmology rarely does permanent endings, right? There's a hidden prophecy here. An earlier descendant named King Maru is said to have actually attained yogic immortality. The texts state he currently resides in a mystical slumber up in the hidden village of Kalapa. And the prophecy? He is destined to return at the very end of our current age, the Kali Yuga, to completely revive the solar dynasty once again. A tiny seed of the sun remains, keeping hope alive across millennia. How cool is that? It's just a breathtaking historical and spiritual journey. And before we finish, I really want to specifically acknowledge the curation of today's deep dive. This complete lineage and explanation, along with the incredible story attached to it, was meticulously collected, created, and presented by Pawan Talker from Talker Property Consultancy. You can absolutely reach him directly at 900-435-2787. Which leaves us with this final, provocative thought. We've witnessed the ultimate cycle of samsara today, from the divine origins of the Golden Age right down through the grid of history to its eventual fall. But knowing the famously cyclical nature of time in Hindu cosmology, will King Maru truly awaken one day to restore the solar dynasty? It's definitely something to ponder long after this explainer ends. Thank you so much for exploring this with me today, and I'll catch you in the next one.